I'm Patrick Bet-David, and today we're going to be talking about the power of doing opportunity meetings. And in today's recording, we're going to talk about two different kinds of meetings. One, we're going to talk about how to do proper BOMs, which is going to be your weeknights and your weekends. I'll also talk about how to do day BOMs, middle of the day, like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock BOM throughout the weekday. We'll talk about that as well. And then we're going to talk about how to bring the business opportunity meeting to people. And that's called BMP, bringing meeting to people. We'll talk about that as well. And today's recording is really for two different types of people. One, it's for the marketing director that you're listening to this. You're probably going to be up late at night, or you're listening to this in your car, you're by yourself, and you are doing whatever you can to be running a top office. And I know that feeling because I remember myself when I first hit marketing director and I went on my own night, and I'll never forget running my own night. The only night that was available was a Monday night. It was the worst night of the week. Nobody said it was going to work out. We went on Monday night during Monday Night Football, and we turned it into the best night of the entire office we were in. Then I went and opened up my own office, and we created this culture, this tradition, and then eventually from Granada Hills, we went to Northridge, and we built the number one office in a good-sized organization that we were a part of. We were the number one office in the entire country for the culture and the environment that we had created, that everybody was talking about how the Northridge office was. People would fly in from Canada, from all over the place to come and see, why is it that everybody's talking about Northridge? I'm simply going to talk about the intangibles as well as the tangibles of what we did in the Northridge office with you. So if you're the marketing director listening to this saying, I want to improve the culture of my office, remember, this is going to be a recording that you're going to want everybody on your team to also listen to. You may even listen to it together on a BOM night training where you're listening, pausing, so people are talking to what we need to do to make the office better, what we need to do to make this place better. It could even be an emergency meeting with your key leaders for everybody collectively to listen to this on what we can do to make our office a top 5 office. And if that's one of your goals, you'll get a lot of value from this recording to be able to implement into your office and potentially one day be recognized as a top 5 office. The other part is you could be an associate in the company that you're in an office that's not a top 5 office, but you're extremely competitive. And you want to contribute and be a leader in that office because one day you plan on running your own office, but you want to make sure you help an office become a top 5 office because it's a lot easier to say, I came out of a top 5 office. Now we're going to build a top 5 office because you contributed to an office to become a top 5 office. So at the end of the day, it's either for a marketing director running an office or it's for someone who one day wants to run their own office and build a top 5 office in PHP. With that being said, let's get right into it. A couple basics things to keep in mind why we do BOMs. People ask questions. Why is this system the way it is with BOMs? Why do we run our system the way we do? Well, there's 3 reasons why we do BOMs. One is to resell the dream to existing team members. This is associates that come back every single week to be resold the dream about the opportunity. Number 2 is to teach current team members on how to sell the dream. So you're going to be sitting there in the BOM and your marketing director, your leader will be teaching you how to sell the dream to other people in your business. And last but not least, point number 3, the reason why we do BOMs is because we want to sell the dream to new prospects, new people that are coming on board to the meeting. This could be guests that are there for the first time. This could be a new recruit that's at the office for the very first time. Those are 3 reasons why we do BOM. Now, there are certain codes that we follow for BOMs, and I want to cover that with you. I have 17 of them here that I want to cover with you about what it takes to really commit to building a top 5 office. First things first, and this is a commitment from everybody to one another, and it's got to be talked about left and right with point number 1, which is never missing a BOM. See, the way we ran our office, if you missed the BOM, you had no office responsibilities. You did not MC, you did not train, you didn't do anything. For a month, you were off the list if you missed the BOM. And the bigger we got, it was off the list for 90 days because we wanted to create a culture of never missing a BOM. And I'll tell you a couple of things here about never missing a BOM. You'll hear sometimes people say, well, I just don't want to come to the BOM because I don't have the energy today. And I come there, I'm not that upbeat and I'm not that fired up. Remember, sometimes the purpose of the BOM is to have you fire other people up if you're a marketing director listening to this. And sometimes the purpose of the BOM is for other people to fire you up. But the solution isn't saying, I'm not in the mood, so I'm not going to go to it. Because the same mindset when you say, I'm not in the mood, I'm just not going to go to the office, that's probably how you treat everything else in your life. And I'm here to tell you this. I used to be like that. That is not an effective way to become extremely successful, because everything's always going to have to be perfect with your mood for you to win. I'm here to tell you, life is not going to be perfect. A lot of things are not going to go your way, and you still need to find a way to overcome your distractions through your determination. So point number one of the code of a BOM is never missing a BOM. Number two is don't bring negativity into the office. You got things that happen to you, you don't need to bring it into the office. Keep it to yourself. Number three, build each other up. Constantly edify one another. Constantly talk behind each other back in a positive way. If you talk to one of your FAs, let's just say there's another field associate in the office or another director or another MD, and you're talking to one of their new trainees, talk about how great that director is. Talk about how amazing that marketing director is. Talk about how lucky they are to be working with that FA. Build each other up. Four, the person who shakes the most hands eventually makes the most money. Remember this. The person who shakes the most hands eventually makes the most money, which means you got to go around the office and shake everybody's hand. Have a contest. You and a couple of your buddies that are competitive like you. Say, let's see how many hands I could shake. I shook 32 people's hands today. I shook 17 people's hands today. Make it a tradition for you. The room should be circulating constantly because people are shaking hands, introducing themselves to each other. Number five, sit in the front row. Look, people say, Patrick, does that really make a difference to sit in the front row? There is not a way for us to give you a formula to show proof that it does work. But I'm going to tell you something here. It just so happens, all my career, if you look at any office, the chairs are normally set up this way. Visually go through it with me. There's a left side, there's a right side. Let's say row one has 5 chairs. On the left side, row one has 5 chairs on the right side. Then you go row 2, 5, 5. Row 3, 5, 5. It's 10 per row. And you got each side has 5 chairs. Are you visualizing it with me? Okay. Do you know what's the best seat in the house? If you're competitive, it's row 1, closest seat in the middle to the podium when the speaker speaks. Those 2 are VIP seats. You know who sits in those chairs? The next marketing director. And if you're competitive, you got to make those 2 chairs your chair. It's got to be that important to you for those 2 chairs to be yours. We created such a culture where the fight for those 2 chairs, I cannot even describe to you what happened to anybody who sat in those 2 chairs. Anybody that sat in those 2 chairs for 6 months straight, they were always the marketing directors. I can tell you this vividly. Anybody who sat in those 2 chairs always became marketing directors. So fight for the front row. Number 6, make eye contact with the speaker. A lot of times people don't realize this, but your energy makes the speaker train better. The way you look at the speaker, you inspire him to become a better speaker. You roll your eyes, you yawn, you're taking energy away from the speaker. So if you have 10 people in the audience and you want the trainer to be inspiring your 10 people, give the speaker energy. Oh, that's right, that's so true. You know, look at him, eye contact, move your head up and down, be paying attention to him. It's really driving the speaker to deliver a better speech to everybody else in the office. Number 7, talk louder, talk with energy, enthusiasm. 8, smile. We used to have people going around the office, smile coordinators. Hey, smile on your face. Hey, smile. Hey, smile. Hey, we got to be smiling. Smile, smile, smile. Smile is something that it's very pleasant when everybody smiles. If you can get everybody to smile in an office, you officially took the attractive look in your office from a 6 to an 8. Because a smile makes that big of a difference. Number 9, dress sharp, look money, look good. You don't need to have an Armani suit or a Versace suit, but whatever suit you got. I worked with $99 suits for a while and white shirts, and I changed my ties from Ross regularly. But guess what? When I was starting initially and I didn't have a lot of money, but I look sharp. I want to look sharp for everybody. Number 10, come early, stay late. I never forget, there was always something special about watching people who stayed late. Everybody wanted to leave early. I can't wait to go home. I can't wait to go home. I can't wait to go home. But those that would stay late, they just wanted it more. They just learned more. Things happened to people that stayed later. There was something magical about staying later. Next, declare your intentions to everybody. All the time, no matter when you train, no matter what you do, teach a team of a culture that's declaring intentions. We're going to hit marketing director. We're going to be the number 1 office. We're going to be a top 5 office. We're going to take those guys out. We're going to be better office than the other guys. We're going to be marketing directors. We're going to be an SMD team. We're going to be directors. I'm going to make $10,000 this month. I'm going to make $40,000 this month. Declare your intentions constantly. That's what winners do regularly. It was a code at our BOMs. Every time you train, declare your intentions from stage. Number 12, Come with a great attitude. Really, come with a great attitude. Have an attractive attitude. Have a pleasant attitude when you come to the office. 13, take notes. If you come with a notepad, you know which notepads I'm talking about, the yellow notepads that you flip the page from the top? Nobody keeps these notepads. Buy a journal, a meat journal, and keep your notes in a journal and keep it in an organized fashion when you take notes. Everybody in the office, when a BOM is taking place, should be taking notes. I'm talking every single person. Nobody has a memory to be remembering everything. By the way, any of the notes, anything you see me training or sharing with people, this is 10, 15 years of collecting notes over the years to become a student of the business that I'm now teaching my team, that you could be teaching your organization, but you got to be taking notes. Number 14, introduce new guests to the marketing director. All the guests that come in, they should all meet the marketing director at that office. Number 15, make people feel good. Compliment everybody. You know, go tell people they look good. Go tell people they have a nice shirt on, nice blouse on, their hair looks good. You know, tell people they look sharp. Tell people you like their shoes. Make everybody feel good when they come through. Number 17, create a culture where every leader in the office has the permission to call each other out if somebody drops the ball. What do I mean by this? You know, we used to have an office many, many years ago where everybody would say, Patrick, did you see what she did? Did you see what he did? He did this, or she did this, and he did this. And I noticed I had to put out every fire until one day we had a meeting and I gave them to call each other out based on the code that we created of the BOM. So I wouldn't have all the issues come to me anymore, because if somebody was late, somebody called them out. If somebody was being negative in FaceTime, somebody called them out. If somebody wasn't having a guest consistently, they got called out. If somebody was being casual with their trainings, they got called out. That's the kind of an environment we created in our BOMs. And that's a healthy environment where there's always a little bit of friction. If there's always nobody having any friction with no issues, no nothing, you're probably not a top 10 office. Because friction is what creates the top 5 offices. Number 1 office typically has more friction than any other office in the entire country. But that's why they're winning, because they're constantly challenging each other to improve. And last but not least, guess what? You're going to make a lot of mistakes. You're going to do a lot of things wrong. But the key is not to run a perfect BOM. You're not striving for perfection. You're striving for magic. So the point is, stumble forward. Stumble forward together as a unit. As long as your attendance is growing, the excitement is growing, guests is growing, stumble forward. Everything else would work itself out. Okay, let's go through what not to do at BOMs. 4 things I got for you, very basic. 1, don't wait in a parking lot for your guests. Number 2, don't bring your problems into the BOM. Number 3, don't sell other products to people at the BOM. I used to have a gentleman who used to sell people suits in the BOM, and in the parking lot, he would bring a van, open up his door, and he would sell suits. And it was a turnoff to his team, because his team looked at him as, you're abusing us just to make money off us because you're selling something to us all the time. Don't abuse your team just because you have a team. Don't sell them everything and anything to make money. Don't go out there and sell them products outside of the system just to sell them products to make money, you know, shoes, suits, all this other kind of stuff. And point number 4, you're here for a reason. There's a reason why you came to the training. Don't have a long face. Either be in or be out. You got to know whatever office you're in, they're looking for leaders. And so if you want to lead, that marketing director is going to work with you if you tell them seriously you want to win big. But either be in or be out. Don't have that mentality of 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Sell out. Think about any time in your life what you've ever sold out to. What have you given everything to win big? And how did it work out for you? If it didn't work out for you, I'm here to tell you, there are a lot of marriages that don't work. But I'm here to tell you, it's great to be married and have kids. There's a lot of people that will say, man, it's so difficult to have kids. I'm telling you right now as a parent, it's very difficult to have kids. But I'd rather have kids than not have kids any day of the week. I want to sell out to my kids. I want to sell out to my marriage. I want to sell out to the business I'm in. I want to sell out to my teammates that are running with me. Sell out to this thing. Don't have 1 foot in and 1 foot out the door. If somebody says something wrong, you can't wait to leave the office, because they're probably going to tell you something that you're not going to like. That's how it works. People are going to rub you the wrong way. To go from being an employee mindset to an entrepreneur, you're going to have some speakers that are going to rub you the wrong way. Don't go into BOM being offended by every single thing your marketing director tells you, because odds are you'll be offended. Change some of your mindsets. Start winning big. So have some of those mindsets in place on what not to do at the BOM. Now let's talk about some other things about the BOM, but let's get right into it. A couple things you got to keep in mind with BOM is this. No matter what we talk about today, in this recording, I want you to know butts and seats is superior to everything. I've been to offices where they've ran everything so organized, but they don't have associates growing. It's the same old faces. They don't have new guests coming there. It's the same old faces. And I would rather take the, unorganized office that's got guests coming in left and right. They got 150 people coming in. You can call it an organized mess. I'll take that any day of the week than the person that's running a very, very organized office that no guest is showing up. I want the organized mess of an office. So remember, butts and seats is superior to everything, increasing your guest count and your associate count. Second thing to think about before we get into some of these protocols is the idea is to produce a motivational center as an office. The idea isn't to create a place that's just everything. You're the best at products. You're the best at everything. You should be teaching that stuff as well, the concepts of it. But it should be a motivational center. I should come to this place and I should feel like I went to a revival at a church. I should feel like I just walked away from Joel Osteen, Billy Graham, Tony Robbins. I should feel like there's so much energy, intensity, a combination of an incredible, music playing, excitement, people dancing. They're just excited about life. It should be a motivational center. So I walk out feeling like I can fly is what I should feel like. It should be a very motivating place where your associates walk away inviting people to the office, not telling them the opportunity, just to say, man, you got to come to this office. The energy is out of control. What do you guys do? Just come and take a look at it. Just come and take a look at it. And they come in and they say, oh my, you are right. I should bring my wife. I should bring my, everybody should. By the way, what do we do here again? That's the mindset of a motivational center. Number 3, the more preparation up front, the more the results on the back end. So on Monday morning full-timers is when you do the preparation and you always talk about, but what happened good on Saturday BOM? Well, this is what went good. Okay, great. Good job on training. What else happened good? This was good. We had good guest count. Excellent. What else happened good? This happened good. FaceTime was good. Okay, what wasn't good? You know what? Such and such's training wasn't prepared. He was not prepared at all. What else? Such and such person FaceTime. What were you talking about? You were talking about the issues you and your girl are going through. That's nobody's business. You don't need to be talking about that. I felt like that's not necessary. And on Monday morning, there should be some friction of calling each other out, by the way. Hey, why was closeout the way it was? I felt like when we close out the office, it needs to be dream and crusade. Why were you saying the stuff you were saying with guests still left in the room? I don't think that's appropriate. That's what Monday morning should be. And by the way, for some of you guys that are listening and saying, you know what, I want to put my input. I have some input. I think our office needs to be like this. Guess what? Be a leader and show up Monday morning and we'll listen to you. Yes, you. Show up Monday morning. Your marketing director is willing to listen to you if you're a leader in an office, but they also want you to be there Monday morning to give feedback. So make the time to go there Monday morning full-timers if you want to give some feedback. So remember, more preparation up front. Things will work out on the back end. So let's go into it now on beginning of the BOM to the end of the BOM. How it should look like. So step number 1, pregame. Let's talk about pregame. And pregame is typically what happens 30 minutes before a BOM. This is when everybody shows up. Think about this as a locker room talk before we go hit the field. And a person that runs pregame is the same person, like, how there's a huddle in football. You see the cameras in there and the one guy in the middle just, motivating, inspiring everybody. Da, 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 da. Ready, 1, 2, 3, defense. And everybody runs out. That's the person that runs pregame in your office. Whoever that person is in your office, that's the person that runs pregame. And this is typically what pregame will be like. The pregame person will get up. They're going to talk about an article. They're going to talk about a video they saw that was moving. They're going to talk about a chapter in a book that everybody's reading, part of a book club. They're going to talk about an iTunes recording they listened to, and they're going to bring value to them. Assign different positions to everybody, whether it's greeters at the front of the building to greet guests. Typically, we used to have husband and wife to do that. Sign in, who's going to be doing the sign in, who's going to be the FaceTime coordinator to make sure everybody's talking to one another, who's going to be doing MC, who will be the host, who's going to be training, who's going to be doing the BOM, and everybody claps for the trainers. And then from there, when it's done, the pregame leader will teach again and again and again how to properly FaceTime with each other, which is he's going to bring 3 people up and he's going to show one of them who knows what he's doing, introduce your guest to me. And here's how you don't do it. Here's how you do it. So it'll be something like, Hey, Patrick, how are you? Let's just say I'm the marketing director and Mario brought a guest. Here's how you don't do it. Mario says, hey, Patrick, I want to introduce you to my new guest, John. Thank you so much for coming down today. You don't know, you have no clue how grateful I am for you coming down. I appreciate you coming down, and this is awesome. And it was so hard. I wanted to get you down here. I mean, thank you so much for coming down. This is Patrick. That's how you don't do it. Do you get it? So now how you do it is, hey, John, thank you for coming down, but I want to tell you about Patrick here. He's my marketing director. He does this, he does this, he does that. I want to make sure I get a chance to introduce the two of you guys to each other. So Patrick, John, John, Patrick. So thank you, but thank you, Patrick. I want to introduce you both ways. Start off with the guest, then you go to your marketing director. And that should be taught at your offices at every pregame. Next, let's talk about sign-in. So who does sign-in? There's an art to doing sign-in. So sign-in, first of all, you need to know that guests will have the red stickers on, associates will have the blue stickers on, and licensed agents who do 10 field training appointments, 10,000 points, they will do the silver badges that they have, okay? And the most attractive personality, fun, great smile, they can't be too serious of a person, will do sign-in. Sign-in's got to be somebody very attractive, very pleasant, great smile, somebody who is just vibrant. You know who they are. When you see them, you'll like them. Great. But I'm going to give you a separator on what some offices could do that some offices will not do. And here's what we used to do. So an associate will come in. They go from another door. If they come to the same place, somebody else will sign them. And an associate comes in, will say, oh, hi, John. How are you? Whose team are you on? Okay, they sign them in. Great. By the way, John, are you on VoiceTel? I'm not. Oh, okay. Perfect. Can you go with Mary over there? She's going to help you on getting on VoiceTel. John follows Mary. Mary helps him get on VoiceTel. Whether she registers him there, if we got a really good trainer, Mary will get him registered right there on VoiceTel. Give him the paper on what to do on VoiceTel and how to use it. Then that number will be given to the assistant to put it on the distribution list. But they're going to get him on VoiceTel. Second thing, hi, John, how are you? Excellent. Are you licensed yet? I'm not. Have you submitted your hours? I have not. Okay, how soon do you want to start making money? Very soon. Could you go with Mary with me? She's going to help you with your licensing process. Excellent. John follows Mary. And Mary gets him registered for his hours if the state requires, or schedules the test date wherever they're at, and gets a commitment for him to go out there and get a license by a specific date. By the way, if an office does this and another one doesn't do it, can you see the compounding effects on licensing 5, 10, 15 years later on their team? Having their marketing directors do the same as well. That's the whole point of it. So keep that part in mind on what to do with sign-in. Okay, so now let's talk about FaceTime. What is FaceTime and how does FaceTime work? FaceTime is people talking to one another, greeting each other, introducing the leaders to each other before BOM and training. And during FaceTime, it's very important for the energy to be a genuine energy. I'm talking about, hi, how are you? Smile on your face, getting to know them and speaking to the guests and making sure the guests are being introduced to a lot of different people, but they're not being overly friendly where it's fake. It's just genuine being yourself. We used to have a lady that used to hug every one of our guests, that she would come in and it was a 5-second hug. You know, the kind of hugs that's a little bit awkward of a hug? That's the kind of a hug it was. And we had to pull her aside and have a conversation with her because we used to hug her because she was a hugging type of a person, very loving individuals. Everybody loves this woman, but it was uncomfortable on guests because most guests didn't know her, so they thought it was too fake, although it was genuine. It's just genuine, sincere desire to want to know the guest and more about them, being real, talking to one another, upbeat music. 80s is always good to go with 80s music. You don't want to play a lot of hip hop. You want to play some 80s rock. You know, you can play some trance if you put some, you know, those kinds of music that gets the energy going. It's always good. Any kind of rocky music feels good to get the energy up, to get the energy going. But music plays a very, very important role to having a solid FaceTime. Let's talk about tours. We used to do tours in our office, and here's what a tour is. A guest comes in. Once we have 3 to 5 guests, a person would give tour of the office, and the tour of the office, they would go to every single office and explain. This office is this person's office. Their background is this, that. This person's office is this. Oh, you see this frame over here? This is for us being recognized as a top 5 office at all the offices in the country. We were recognized as a top 5 office. in 2013. Oh, by the way, this poster over here, we're going to be going to Dubai. This over here, we're going to be going to Aspen. This poster here is for our code of honor. This is over here. We used to go over here. Then if you have a picture collage in your office, it's always great. Oh, by the way, this is for number one producer came out of this office. The number one recruiter came out of this office. And then if you're introducing some of the MDs that have offices, it's always good to have some fun with it. And let me tell you what I mean by fun. Something like this. I don't mean to disappoint you or confuse you, but I want you to understand there's something about this person here that you may not like, and I want you to know in advance that nobody is perfect. And unfortunately, it just so happens that this person who runs his office, they're a Clippers fan. And we apologize for it because we're all Lakers fans, but he's a Clippers fan. And we realize not everybody's perfect, so we've forgiven him a long time ago. You see, you say something like that. Next thing you know, one guy says, I'm a Clippers fan. And you say, well, you know what, we need to escort you out of the office, and you kind of laugh about it. And there is that connection already built before the BOM even happens. They already like the spirit and the culture of the office. That spirit and culture, they feel it in that office. MC. So now after FaceTime is done, somebody's going to come up and break the floor. So when somebody breaks the floor, there's a couple things to keep in mind about who the MC is. The MC is somebody that's very presentable, very attractive, somewhat witty. And once you have an MC, the person cannot change as an MC. Like, it's not somewhere to try somebody out and say, you know, I'm going to put this person up there and see how he does. If you have a good MC, you stick with a good MC for 6 to 12 months. Now, if the MC misses BOMs, they're not MCing again. Because remember, our commitment is to not missing BOMs. But if he or she is focused, she's doing the MC every week, because you got to understand, if you do MCs, it's so important. The marketing director has trusted you to be the first face they see on stage every single week, maybe even more than the marketing director who does BOMs in that office. You could be doing MC more often than that marketing director does BOMs. You need to know it's a very important role that the MD has assigned you, and you need to take it very, very seriously. So when you get up there, you do your script for 2 to 5 minutes, and then you edify the speaker that's coming up. It's always great to have some kind of an icebreaker at the beginning, a funny story. Everyone claps when edified, and you laugh at jokes, and then the speaker comes up. Okay, so now when the speaker comes up, the MC breaks everybody out to different sessions, and the guests follow the speaker to the BOM room. The associates set up the chairs, and then training starts. So when the training started, everybody is putting up the chairs. It's typically people who have been assigned to set up the chairs, but it's not the newest associates. It's the older associates that set up the chairs. The new associates learn from you on how to do it. So, and this is when the teams sit together, and there's that culture of sitting together. And that's kind of what takes place right after MC is done. Now let's talk about BOM speaker. Who does the BOM? The biggest moneymaker in the office does the BOM. Always remember that. Now, if you got somebody that's getting ready to go to another city to open up an office, what do you do with them? Sure, you can bring them up and start doing the first half of the BOM and maybe the second half of the BOM, and you sit there and you watch them. But it's very important for the top money maker, the top winner, the top leader in that office be doing the BOM on a weekly basis. Very, very important for the right person, the money maker, to be doing the BOM on a regular basis. And it's, again, not one of those things you switch off. It's something that you do. The same BOM, the same person could be doing the BOM. It could be two people doing the BOM, but they do it every single week. So that's the BOM. Now, let's talk about how to give a strong BOM. Let's talk about how you give a strong BOM. I'm going to go through this fairly quickly on how to give solid BOMs. Point number one, here's what I used to do. So take out the BOM slide and print out the PowerPoint. When you print it out, on each slide, add the points you want to make. So I want to make this point on this slide. It's like, let's just say I got to prove to them timing on this slide. I got to show them the money to be made on this slide. I got to tell them how easy it is on this slide. I got to sell the dream on this slide. Next, on each slide, add a story that you want to tell. A short story. I'm going to tell this story. You know what stories it could be. You could give it a name to a story that you've been saying for a while, and you add that story to it. And don't ever feel like you need to change up your BOM. I've been saying the same BOM for 10 years already. It's the same stories for 10 years, what I've been saying. It's effective today, as good as it was 10 years ago. The only thing that's changed is the timing has changed. That's pretty much it. Everything else, the stories, is relatively the same. Where to add your jokes in the BOM, you would put that in the printout. So if you're doing it for the first time, you would simply go to the next page. And they're not even going to mind if you do that. It's very normal. Pastors do it when they speak. They have notes they're going through. So your guests are not going to have a problem if you are prepared for it. Winging it is when they'll know the difference. They won't have a problem if you have prepared for it and you have notes in front of you. Two, a great BOM consists of four different things. One is keeping it simple, stupid. So you cannot give the talk where everybody says, oh my goodness, you are so amazing. You're right. I agree, but I can't be like you. You know, like when I would do the BOMs, my story would be some like, I never thought I could do this business. And this is the truth. I never thought I could do this business because in my family, no one's ever owned a life insurance policy between my mom and dad. We've never owned a mutual fund. I've never lived in a house before that we've owned ever in my life with my parents ever. And we're just not used to the stock market, mutual funds, annuities. We don't know any of that stuff. So I was very intimidated whether I could do this business or not. But here's what I did know. I did know I was sick and tired of being in debt $49,000. I did know I didn't like the fact that my mother lived in Iran and my dad was here and he had heart attacks left and right and he worked at a 99-cent store. And I didn't like the fact that my sister got married, the most incredible wedding in my life. I went to just a very special wedding, but they didn't go to a honeymoon. That bothered me. I wanted to do something about it. So even though I didn't think I could do this, I knew the reasons why I wanted to do this were more important than my fears of not doing this. So you need to tell a story to make a point on how simple it is because someone's going to be there to teach them the business. They will not be by themselves. Point number two, the fact that there's big money to be made here. You need to talk about big money being made. Telling stories of who's making big money. Telling stories of how much the potential of making money. How big the industry is. The timing of the industry. The potential of the industry. You need to show how much money can be made. Next is selling the dream. There's two different dreams. One, there is your dream. Two, there is their dream. So you need to tell your dream and share it with them, but also be able to say the potential of their dreams coming true. You can't just talk about your dreams. So let's just say you're not a Ferrari person and you get up on stage and you bash Ferraris. Well, what if they like Ferraris? What if one of the guests in the audience is been a diehard Ferrari fan since he was a kid because his grandfather used to work for Enzo, the founder of Ferrari, and he wants to buy a Ferrari? What's it to you? That's his dream. What if somebody wants to go out there and have a $75,000 Patek Philippe watch, and you don't really care for what, but he wants to buy it? What's it to you? That's fine. This is why when you speak and you sell the dream, you need to know what the dream is to all of us. There's certain things that we all want, and some want different things than others, but this is pretty much it. Control of your time. Financially free. Freedom, period. Being your own boss, running your own business, free enterprise. Being able to give back to the community, building a national business, being part of a company that's growing and it's new at the same time, and being a major contributor in a company like that. Driving nice cars, traveling the world, spending time with kids, spending time with grandkids, sending kids to private school, having money for retirement savings, proving critics wrong that believe you are not capable of doing something special for your life, giving one more push in life. Reshaping the future generation of America, your faith, your church, finding a wife or a husband. Yes, I found my wife here. And many of our leaders also found their husbands and their wives in the business here. Absolutely. Environment for your kids. Learning about how money works. You see, that's all part of the dream. That's all part of the importance of sharing that with them. So let's go back to it. Number one is keep it simple, stupid. Number two is the fact that there's big money to be made. Number three is selling the dream. And number four is selling the crusade, which means free enterprise, entrepreneurism. 41% of Americans don't have any life insurance. Adults, 95 million adults don't have any life insurance policy. This whole, the idea of teaching baby boomers about how money works. How many boomers have lost money in the market? How many of them wake up every single morning afraid of what's going to happen with the marketplace? All of these things are part of the crusade, and a good BOM speaker knows how to touch up on all four. Now let's go through point number three of all of it. Point number three on how to give a great BOM. Number three, there is no competition on how fast you finish the BOM. There is no such thing as let me finish the BOM fast and touch their hearts. Remember, to connect with somebody's heart doesn't take 10, 15, 20 minutes. It takes a lot longer than that. To connect with somebody's heart and sell them on the timing and sell them on the desire to learn about money and share in the heart of our business, it takes about 45 minutes to an hour and a half. Now, I'll tell you, anything about an hour and a half is too long. Hour and 15 is typically a good time. And 45 minutes, anything less than that, it's also too short. You need about 45 minutes to hour and 15 max, hour and 30 minutes when you give the BOM. Point number four, mindset of a speaker. There will be days as a marketing director, I'm speaking to you as an MD, that you will be given a BOM, you come into your office and your guest count is so low, you are just so upset and furious. But you only have 3 guests. You know what I want to tell you about the 3 guests? Here's what I could tell you. There's 3 things for you to keep in mind. Those days when you're furious, somehow, some way, don't ask me why, but your best recruits typically tend to come from BOMs like that when you're not in the mood to do it and give it. Here's why. There's 3 things you need to tell yourself before doing BOM. People ask me and say, what do you tell yourself before doing a BOM? 3 things. One, I tell myself there's somebody in here that God put me in their lives with me as the voice to help them change their lives. They want to be inspired. They're about to throw in the towel and they want somebody to inspire them. That could be me as a tool God's using for them. Number 2, the next giant of PHP is in that room and I'm about to recruit him. So I took every guest serious. Every guest serious. When guests walked out, we sent somebody after them because we wanted somebody to sit down with them in case if that was the future giant of our business. And you know what number 3 is? Someone in this room knows the future giant of PHP that I need them to introduce that person to me. Those were the 3 mindsets before giving a BOM. So take every BOM serious and put your heart into every single BOM. Yes, I agree with you. It's a lot easier giving a BOM with more guests than less guests. But if you knew the Michael Jordan of your business is in that room or is going to be introduced to you from that room, would you take that a lot more serious? Treat it like that every single time you give a BOM. Point number 5, basic premise behind speaking to an audience. This is very simple. Think about it as if you're an attorney and you have 3 arguments you need to make. 1 is there's a problem. 2, there's a solution. 3, why they should enroll in your crusade. So if you look at it that way, the problem is, 95 million uninsured adults, 41% of adults have no insurance. The solution is we need to go out and help people out with their finances. It could be a term, IUL, index annuity, the products and services. Why they should join us. We need more agents, timing in the industry, selling the opportunity, their dreams coming true, then becoming financially free. So just remember, problem, you make the case for the problem, then give the solution, then make the case on why they should join you on the crusade. A good speaker, no matter what you're doing, beyond whatever you're doing, those are 3 things you're going to be doing. A good speaker does that. Good pastor does that. A good coach does that. A good parent does that. So remember that problem, solution, case, why they should enroll. Okay, next. Another great thing about a BOM speaker. Here's a few things a great BOM speaker does. Elements of a great BOM speaker. They give hope. They relate. They are real. They uplift. They challenge. They take away. And they encourage. That's what a great BOM speaker does. Give hope. Relate to the guests. Be real. Uplift. Challenge them. Take it away. Encourage them. Point number 7. Always break the ice when you're starting your BOM, especially for the newer people that you're thinking about doing a BOM for 5, 10, 15, 20 people, maybe 40 people. Break the ice with a great opener. And sometimes I would just walk in, I would say, the BOM may be like, oh my goodness, can I share with you guys what an embarrassing thing happened today earlier at a sushi restaurant? What's that? I was at the sushi place and I felt so embarrassed, when I did this. Any sports fans here? Yes. Guys, what happened with the Lakers last night? Any baseball fans here? Yes. What happened with the Dodgers last week? Anybody following the news? Yes. What's going on with the market? Do you guys see what happened with the market this week? Yes. We're just opening with a breaking the ice, something fun, something relatable. Good BOM speaker to me is somebody that can make a room filled with 50, 100, 200, 500,000 people, still make that one person in the room, even though there's thousands of people in the room, to make that one person feel like they're just having a cup of coffee with you. If you can do that as a BOM speaker, you are a powerful BOM speaker. So find a way to break the ice with them with some current event, and some, hey, have you seen the new movie or whatever happened with sports, a story with your kid, something funny that happened with your wife. People like to hear stories about kids and things like that. It's always simple to share that. Now, point number 8, very simple. I've said it several times. A good BOM is filled with many great stories. Tell a lot of great stories. A good BOM is filled with many great stories. Number 9, don't feel like you have to give new BOMs. Keep saying the same thing over and over and over again. Don't get bored with it. Your competition will. Most of your peers will feel like the reason why they're not doing good is because they're not saying new things. No, the only reason your competition is not winning is because they keep getting creative and they're not going wide and introducing new people to the BOM. They're not inviting guests. You invite guests and say the same things, you're going to beat out everybody eventually in the business. Point number 10, what to do when people get up and walk out, because that's going to happen in your BOMs. And that could be very distracting. You got to learn how to address it and how not to panic. When it happens, somebody walks out, I would always raise my hand. I would say, can I get a commitment from everybody? Is this okay with you? We've had several people who drove a couple hours to come down here today, and they took time away from their wife and kids, and they're really considering this as a business decision to make. Can we all respect each other and not get up and walk out? I promise you, I will not walk out as long as you don't walk out. I'm going to be with you till the end. Is that okay with everybody? And every single time, you know what everybody said? Absolutely. Then we continued. But it's important for you to have the courage and boldness to say that without coming across as a jerk. You got to say it in a very nice, pleasant way. And by the way, this doesn't mean people won't walk out still, but the percentages go lower. And everybody else will look at that one person that's walking and saying, what a disrespectful thing to do. So you gain the guests on your side by being able to say that. Then last but not least, ending of the BOM. When you end the BOM, you got to always end the BOM with selling the dream of your story. But there's a closing of the BOM that's very, very important. So let's just say you're done selling the dream with your story. Then you ask everybody to take out their blue cards. So you say, here's what I like to do. I like you to reach down onto your chairs. There are blue cards. I want to fill this out together with you. Or, I'd like to hand out these cards to you to schedule time for us to get back together and answer your questions for you for one-on-one. So you hand them out. Then they're going through it together. And when it comes down to the bottom of it, here's what I would always say. There's 3 boxes you can mark off. I want to get started right away. I have some questions. I'd like to find out more about your concepts and ideas. So you can mark off all 3 if you like to. But there's 2 times that we get together here with Tuesday night group. It's either Wednesday or Thursday between the hours of 8 and 5. Now, if the BOM's being done on Wednesday, what do I say? It's 2 times that we get together with this group. It's either Thursday or Friday between the hours of 8 and 5. Now, if it's Saturday, what do we say? There's a couple times that we get together with the group today. It's either today afternoon or Monday and Tuesday between hours of 8 and 5. When I say that, here's how I would continue. Let's say it one more time for Tuesday. Now, there's 2 times that we get together with this group here. It's either on Wednesday or Thursday between the hours of 8 and 5. And I know some of you looked up because you work between those 2 hours. We are completely aware of it. However, if you were to wake up tomorrow morning with a toothache, you probably wouldn't wait till Saturday to go see the dentist because it's important to you, right? We believe this is just as important as a toothache, if not more. So if you need to take tomorrow morning off, a lunch off, or early afternoon off, we highly encourage and challenge you to do so. We like to work with commitment. If you commit to us, we promise we'll commit to you as well. So just make sure to circle a day and a time, either tomorrow or Thursday between the hours of 8 and 5 for us to get together. So if it's Wednesday at 3, circle Wednesday at 3. If it's Thursday at 5, circle Thursday at 5. So then from there, they turn in the blue cards to me. And literally when they're coming through, if it's not me, it's somebody else. And this is literally how it would sound like. They would come to me and they would say, John, I don't see a time here. What's the best time for us to get together? Oh, my schedule's really busy. What's your schedule look like tomorrow, the next day? Tomorrow I work from 7 to 4. So can we do 5 o'clock tomorrow? Yeah, okay, let's put down for 5 o'clock tomorrow. I work both days. What's your schedule like? 9 to 5. Can you take the morning off? I can't. Isn't that more of a reason to realize how important it is to become an entrepreneur so you could take the morning off? I know what you're saying. Let's figure out a way to get together. Why don't you take off the morning? Okay, I'll take off the morning. Can you be here at 8 o'clock in the morning and going at 9:30? Yes, perfect. Let's do that. Show up an hour late. Tell them you have a meeting on Thursday morning. Great, I'll see you Thursday morning at 8 o'clock. There's got to be a boldness in scheduling the time afterwards. They are waiting for you to lead them. They're hoping for you to lead them and having the guts for doing so. So that's a couple things to keep in mind for a great BOM speaker. Those 11 points we just covered together here. But let's get back to talking about the BOM. So now, what do we do after the BOM is done? So here's normally what would happen. 2 to 3 trainers would get up from the training room and come in front of the BOM room to help the BOM speaker out with follow-up. So while guests are leaving, a good trainer or leader would ask the question like this. Oh, hey, so wasn't that great? Wasn't that impressive? Wasn't it amazing? It was so great. So he'll ask those questions and say, by the way, did you schedule time? I did. I'm coming together on Thursday at 10 o'clock. Oh, really? Yes. Do you have a couple minutes to sit down right now? Sure, why not? Okay, go ahead. Let's go ahead and sit down. That one small question, by the way, do I have a few questions? Do you have some time right now for us to sit down and talk? Yeah, sure. Okay, let's sit down. It's very subtle, but you now sped up the time of meeting with that person 48 hours earlier, and your competition will drop the ball and won't do that. If you create that culture in your office and half the guests sit down right afterwards for 5 to 10 minutes, and half of them turn in their NAAs right there, this is exactly how we used to recruit a steady 100 recruiting a month base shop every single month, because we did that, and our competition would not do that. They would wait till Thursday, and by Thursday, a million and one things could happen. We wanted to meet with them that night. So, couple things to ask the guests afterwards. Wasn't it great? Wasn't it awesome? I told you you'd walk away impressed. Now you see why I'm excited about doing this? Yes. So you got to teach your associates to say those things. You got to teach your associates to say that to their guests if they're going to speak to their guests. Here's another thing. If an associate gets asked by the guest a question that the associate doesn't have the answer, instead of trying to answer, it's best for the new associate to say, "That's a great question. Let me have you sit down with my trainer so that person can answer your question for you." That's great. Let me have my trainer sit down with you to answer that question for you. And you got to keep in mind that every BOM is so important, because your associates, some of them work so hard to get a guest to the BOM. You know, they work so hard to get 2 guests to the BOM. They put so much time into it that it requires for the marketing director to take every BOM seriously. Every single BOM seriously when they give the BOM, because of how much time associates put into inviting a guest to the BOM. Let's continue. Now let's talk about what happens in the training room. So host goes up. Host goes up and says, you know, the host is typically going to be the next rabbit, the next marketing director. It needs to be somebody that's very serious about their business. So host gets the entire energy up and they go through announcement, you know, the next Fast Start School, the next big event, the next this. They go through a sheet recognizing everybody. You know, if it's their first time hosting, they will share their story with everybody. Our entire business is based on stories. Then they'll recognize people, you know, who got licensed this week, stand up. Let's give them a round of applause. Who had guests, who got a personal recruit, who helped a family out. How many families did you help out? Stand up if it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Great job. You know, check in voice tell. What did you hear voice tell this week? That was great. One person, oh, I heard voice tell from this. Excellent. Did you listen to iTunes? What did you get out of it? Book of the month. Whatever you're doing. Did you register for the next big event? Stand up if you and your spouse are here together. I used to love asking that question. Stand up if both you and your spouse are here together. Give them a round of applause. One of the fastest way to increase your associate count is to create a culture of spouses coming to BOMs together. And obviously, they're going to be edifying the next trainer coming up. And when the trainers are chosen on Monday morning to train, I expect trainers to be extremely prepared. If any reputation is built in an office of you being a winger, you will not be training again. Training is very, very important. The fact that the MD trusts you to train, you are the teacher of that office. It's very, very important to provide value and be prepared for everybody else. Now, next, orientation. Orientations usually happens during the weekdays. And a person who teaches orientation is the best fast starter in the office. And now here's how I gauge a good person teaching a good orientation. Somebody on I've had a lot of people that have taught orientation, but I've had 2 or 3 that are the best people at teaching orientation. I remember them clearly because I set the expectation with them right off the bat. Here's what I expect you to do in the orientation class. And here's what it was. 1, 50% of the people in the orientation room should get registered for the next big event. That's what you need to do. So the person doing orientation is not just talking to them the entire time. It's about results, right? You're doing a group fast start. Think about it that way. 50% of the room should get registered. The other 50% should commit to when they're going to get registered for the next big event. 2, get them registered for voice tell. 3, get them registered for licensing. And here's the crazy one. The crazy one that's doing orientation classes will get everybody in that room to book 2 to 3 appointments in the orientation class. Yes, you heard it correctly. Not just talking to everybody. That's just somebody that's talking to everybody. I want the results out of the person teaching orientation class. Now remember, the number 1 office will do this. Maybe the top 5 offices will do it a little bit, but I promise you the number 1 office will be doing that in the company because everybody's going to be getting this recording. 1 or 2 of them will commit to that part. Not everyone will do it. So pick your orientation person, the best fast start in the office. ABCs, which is taught on Saturdays. It's the ABCs of money. Normally the best field trainer teaches the ABCs class. This is another one of those things that 2 or 3 people could be teaching it every week, or it could be the same person teaching for months at a time. And the ABCs is teaching on the basics of what we do for families, selling how honorable of a profession it is, how much of a difference we make as life insurance agents, read a few articles and share it with them, give them copies, print a few and give it to them, to validate from New York Times, Wall Street Journal, something relating our industry for them to get inspired on why they chose to do this business. And I will tell you, if I was doing an ABC's class today, I'd be teaching on 5 different products today. I'd be teaching on debt settlement, what we do, and the way I would teach it is here's who it's for, here's how much it pays out. I'd be teaching on term insurance, I'd be teaching on final expense, index universal life, and index annuity. That's what I would be teaching on. And if you're a great ABC's trainer, 50% of those people that are on ABCs for the first time should come out saying, I need one of that, I need one of this, I need to see if that's suitable for me, I need to sit down and figure out if that's suitable for me. If a good ABC's trainer is teaching, people will come out of that class wanting to own, potentially purchase some of those products that you're servicing at your office. Let's go to the next one. Advanced training in your BOMs, and that could be on a Tuesday night, that you pull away some of your trainers. I used to do this and I would take away my FAs. If your team is smaller, you could take associates, you could take licensed agents only. And if you separate licensed agents only, you may, licensed agents stand up, everybody follow me over here. Those who are not licensed, now they are feeling left out, they're gonna go out and get licensed, is what they're going to do. And I would take the licensed agents out and we would teach on an area that everybody needs to improve in. Simple as that. We would teach an area that everybody needs to improve in. So if our guys are not good at selling annuities, we're teaching on annuities by the best annuity trainer in that office. If our guys are not good at running illustrations, someone's teaching them on how to run illustrations and they're gonna run illustrations on each other. If the office doesn't do proper FLSs, and you know it because all they're selling is term or IUL, they're not doing FLSs, everyone's gonna learn how to do FLSs by the best FLS person. If they don't know how to look at policies, you guys are gonna look at policies. If they don't know how to overcome objections, you're going to role play objections. If they don't know how to fast start, they're going to fast start each other. If they don't know how to get referrals, the best person at getting referrals is going to teach each other. If they don't know how to sell a product, the best person selling that product is going to teach you. But everything about all our office trainings is always around role play. They should be talking. The associates sitting in the room should be talking 30% of the time, 40% of the time. Not the trainer. 30 to 40% of the time, the audience should be talking, not the speaker. Yes, not just the speaker speaking. It should be a role play feeling the entire time. And sometimes I would do these meetings, the advanced training, I pull them aside simply because our guys needed to be challenged. And I would have the meeting myself and I would challenge our guys on areas that we need to improve in as a group. And it was very direct challenges. Sometimes it was uncomfortable. There was a lot of friction in our office. Our office in Northridge was not an office where everybody was happy-go-lucky all the time. We wanted to compete and win, but it was an environment where everybody called each other out. It was a pretty intense environment, competitive environment, yet everybody would fight for each other if it came down to it because that's the culture we created. Now let's talk about closing of a BOM, okay? After training is done, after everybody's done doing the BOM speaker is done, everybody unites in the training room, right? The closing message is always given by the leader of the office or the number 2 person in the office. And the message is about dream, opportunity, crusade, freedom, challenging everyone. It must be uplifting since guests may also be in the room. It may be rallying them to the next BOM, to the next fast start, a super BOM, the next big event, next PHP university, but it's rallying them to go to something bigger. People need to leave fired up into their own meetings where there's so much excitement, so much energy, so much intensity going on in the place. Then there's a breakout meeting. If there's multiple MDs in the office, the MDs go and do their own breakouts together. If there's only you're running at the office as a marketing director, you may do a breakout with your leaders. That your FAs may do the breakout with their teams as well first. Then you meet with your leaders afterwards. And when I met with my leaders afterwards, we would go through accountability. If we needed to get the policies placed, I would bring out the format and I go through every single policy of everybody and say, why isn't this place? Why isn't that place? What are we waiting with this? How come the meds haven't been done? And we would do this as a group. So everybody was held accountable to each other. So people knew who was a person that was good at placing and people knew who wasn't a person that was good at placing. Or I would bring out the filters and we would go through the filters and say, hey, how come this person's not in fast start school? How come this person hasn't done this? And I would go through the filters with everybody and we would know the percentages of everybody where they were at. And if I wanted my associate count to increase, I would simply say, those who had 10 or more associates at the BOM, meet me in my office after the meeting. These are the 7 names. And I would give the names. They would come in my office and we would do the meeting after the meeting. together in my base shop. Now let me give you the magic. Let me give you the magic here in your offices on how powerful it is if you're willing to do this. And the meeting after the meeting was at a restaurant. See, most people don't like doing this because they just want to get out of it. They want to go home. See, I love this business. To me, when I hear stories about people had a single-minded focus like Steve Jobs, Michael Jordan, some of these guys, I love this business. You don't understand. I love what I do with this business. I love people. I am so curious of people. I used to love, we would go to Lulu's or we would go to Denny's or we would go to some kind of a restaurant and we would sit there and it was a long table and I'd sit in the middle and I would look at the new rabbits and two FAs competing against who's going to get to MD first, who's going to have the most people faster, who's going to get to 25 first, who's going to make the most money, who's going to get to 100K, 50K. We had so much excitement and fight and just juice in that meeting after the meeting at the restaurants. Oh, I can't even explain it to you. But it wasn't just sitting on, hi, how are you? No, 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 no. It was spirit of competition is what it was. That's what it was. We wanted to compete. We wanted to be number one. Our entire group was sold out to be number one because we talked about it. We declared our intentions all the time. And as a collective group effort, we made that happen. So the restaurant was a very, very, very big part of our business. Now, let's talk about a couple other things with the last 10 minutes that we have here together. The day before the BOM, what do? One, I checked with my captains and I would call and say, hey, how many guests you got invited for tomorrow? Oh, I got 17 on the team. How many do you have personal? 0. Do you really have 0 personal? I do. Man, call some people invites. Do you want to get to marketing director? How many people can you commit to having tomorrow invited? I'm going to have 3. Call those people, call me back. I want to personally confirm those 3. And I would challenge my directs like that to our personal guests because I want to make sure they lead their teams. So I would call them and they would call me back. They'd give me numbers. I'd call the 3 and confirm, yep, those were the guests. And I would call as if I'm an assistant. Hi, I'm the assistant of such and such. I just wanted to call and confirm the guests for tomorrow morning. Oh, great. We'll see you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Okay, do you have the address? Here's the address. We look forward to seeing you there. He had nothing but great things to say about you. Great. Then I would remind associates to come to BOM. Yes, we would remind all associates to come to the BOM. Every single associate would get a call, not text message, a phone call. Every single associate would get a phone call. By the way, new recruits got personal phone calls. Do you know why? Here's why. Because a cousin cannot challenge a cousin, but I can challenge his cousin. Did that make sense? A brother cannot challenge his sister, but I can challenge his sister. A sister cannot challenge her sister, but I can. See, I would make that phone call. And I would get him to come to the BOM. And our attendance kept growing because remember, above all, what counts the most? Butts in seats. Butts in seats. An organized mess beats a very organized, structured environment that has no new guests and the same old faces showing up every single day of the week. The organized mess will beat them any day of the week. Any day of the week will beat them. Next, what to do the day after the BOM. So here's what we did the day after the BOM. Sometimes we did it the same day, but sometimes it was the day after the BOM. So call associates who didn't come to the BOM. Hey, where were you? We missed you. We didn't have you yesterday. Everything okay? Oh, some came up. Hey, bud, you told me you were committed to becoming a marketing director or FA, but you didn't show. We held our people accountable to see what took place because I wanted people to come to the office. Remember, our code of honor, number 1 is what? Never miss a BOM. Remember, never miss a BOM. We were very committed to it. Number 2, call guests on the captain list who didn't attend the BOM. 3, I had my assistants. I had a lot of assistants. I wanted very quickly to get to assistant. If you don't have an assistant yet, then this is you. You got to make this call. And sometimes I had a buddy of mine that would buddy up and I would make the calls for him. He would make the calls for me. And we would call every blue card for the last 90 days and would call them back. We'd follow up with everybody. Then the next day after BOM, we were at the office 8 o'clock in the morning because interviews started at 8 o'clock in the morning. None of this showing up late. We were early and back to back to back. Boom, 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 boom. There were days that I used to struggle having one appointment to do in a day and one appointment to do in a week because I had no activity. When I hit MD, I only had 2 people on my team. I had a small team of 4 people attending. One of them were a couple. That's it. That's what I had. Nothing. But I wanted the associate count to grow, and I knew butts and seats was number 1 and never missing a meeting. And do you know what eventually happened with my BOMs? We had the following day of BOMs, I would have 20 appointments lined up, and I was doing 20, 30-minute appointments, and somebody else would do the paperwork and a fast start. 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 Non-stop. And that's what the number 1 office. running the #1 base shop in PHP, will also be doing. We just don't know who that's going to be. Let's talk about bringing meeting to the people. I'm going to cover this fairly quickly, but let's talk about bringing meeting to the people. So, a lot of times people wait to having a BOM. Oh, BOM's only Tuesdays and Saturdays. But let's talk about BMP. Why this is so important. You see, my BOMs were driven by BMPs. Why were they driven by BMPs? Let me say one more time. My BOM was driven by my BMP. It's as if the BOM was the engine and the BMP was the transmission and the fuel was the guests and the leader was the driver and the people in the car were the passengers that I was teaching how to drive a car. One more time, the BOM is the engine, the BMP was the transmission, the fuel was the guests, the leader was the driver, and the passengers in the car were those being trained to become drivers. So why is BMP so important? Let's talk about a couple different things. One, let's just say you recruit an associate that's an hour away from you, and they have 20 people that live an hour away, and you want to do a BOM. Well, why don't you do a BMP and do it at their house? So you set up a meeting at their house, and they call and invite everybody to their house. Why is it so important? So what do? It's a potluck, spaghetti, pizza, get together, invite friends and their friends, come over. Script is very easy. Look, I'm having a barbecue at my house. I'm having some pizza being made. I'm going to bring one of the business partners. I want to introduce him to you. But at the same time, I want you and Mary to show up. I really want you to see what I'm doing. We're going to be at the house. What are you guys going on? Nothing? Okay, I'll see you tomorrow night. That's literally how simple it was. Next thing to keep in mind about the importance of BMPs. It can be done at any time, in any location, without having to wait for Tuesday and Saturday. You know that whole thing, oh, I'll come next Tuesday, I'll come next Tuesday. No, guess what? We're doing a BOM 1 hour away from our office. I'm going to come and meet you in Seal Beach. I've done BMPs everywhere you can think about within a 200-mile radius of my office. I ran BMPs. Every week, I pretty much was somewhere doing a BMP. Every week. Now, the other part why it's so important to do BMPs. All the skeptics in that family are addressed right there at their house before they influence your new recruit to quit. Now you see how important it is to have BMPs? Can you imagine if you're doing 50, 100 BMPs in your office regularly with 5, 10, 15, 20 different people at their house? Can you imagine what that's going to do to your attendance and your BOM and eventually your attendance at the big event? Unbelievable. Now, the whole power behind BMP is you're teaching everybody the speed, how to increase the speed of your business. And you set the example of not having to wait for anyone to grow. If it's Wednesday and you recruited someone new, you don't have to wait for anyone to grow because we can meet them an hour away from your office and do BMP the next day. We're not waiting for anybody. You can set up a time to do a meeting with them that evening at their house. Another thing it does is BMPs is the new recruit hosting the BMP becomes the equal of a person running an office because that BMP becomes their office that night. It teaches responsibility and taking charge. There's a lot of power behind that when you're doing a BMP at someone's house. And the best way to expand your business is to drive many BMPs on a monthly basis. It's seriously the best way to expand. If you want to recruit 100 people a month, we were a BMP running office every single where. I mean, I can't tell you how many people I've recruited in BMPs, not BOMs. And it's so easy to duplicate. It's so easy to duplicate. They're going to do what you do. They're not going to wait for anybody. So imagine a conversation of somebody saying, well, how many guests are you going to have this Saturday? And it's Wednesday. Instead, look, honestly, Bob, if I was to say I'll come tomorrow night to Orange County, how many people can you have at your house? Really, you come over here? If we can. How many would you have? I would have at least 12 people. You'll have 12 people? Yes. Promise? Yes. You can commit to that? I can. Go ahead and set it up. I'm going to be there tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. Seriously, Pat? Yes. Okay. Then I'll be in Orange County the next day with 12 people doing a BO1 at their house, relationship with him, with his spouse, with his kids. I see the pictures on the wall. Everything is happening 1 hour away from my office. But it's exciting. We're creating momentum. Attendance is going higher. And how do you give BMPs? Let's talk about how to give BMPs. One, you start off by thanking the guests who showed up. Hey, thanks so much for showing up to this event here that's hosted. The second thing, you thank the person who hosted the event. I really want to thank Bob for putting this together as well. Then you tell your story. Then you explain the 5 points of the next perfect storm. You keep it simple. This is not a place to answer all questions. Outcome is to get follow-up one-on-one meetings and invite them to the office. And the goal is for your field trainer meaning the guests, the associate who set up that meeting at their house, to be doing the same thing themselves within, after seeing 3 to 6 of this BMPs, you doing it. Now they're doing it themselves. Can you see the duplication factor of that? Can you imagine how quickly you can revamp your business? For some of you that say, well, I've lost momentum in my base shop. Fastest way I created momentum every time I lost it is I went and did a bunch of BMPs with my newest associates. And I would have 10 guests. If I did 10 BMPs in a month and each of them had 10 guests, that's 100 guests that I would have never had at the BOM if I waited for it. Do you see the difference? That's the big part about doing BMPs. Okay, then the last one I'm going to talk about is daytime BOMs. Here's a purpose of daytime BOMs. Daytime BOMs are done. It's the same mentality as a BMP, but you're doing a daytime BOM at your office. And why are you doing a daytime BOM at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock? What's the purpose of it? Again, you're teaching not to wait, and you're teaching to move. And the second thing is to increase your main associate count at your office. And the third one is to increase big event attendance. Simple as that. Anything you do with BMPs, BOMs, your ultimate outcome is to increase your national convention attendance. That's what you want to drive to get bigger. And that happens with BMPs constantly happening every single place. Now, what are daytime BOMs great for? Well, they're great for professionals who don't have a typical 9-to-5 job. So imagine if you said, we're doing a special real estate BOM on Wednesday at 11 o'clock. So we're going to have, we're going to serve this, but it's only for real estate professionals. So they call and say, hey, we're having a real estate professional day. We're only those who are doing great things, and we're going to be presenting why real estate industry professionals are working with us right now during a market like this. Great. It could be CPAs, doctors, attorneys, pharmaceutical salesmen, health insurance agent, property and casualty, but it's professionals who are 1099 typically, business owners. They don't have a 9-to-5. 2 is stay-home moms. Do you know how many companies are ran just simply by stay-home moms? Their kids go to school till 3 o'clock. They don't mind doing something else on the side in the morning. So you could have a stay-home mom BOMs once a month. Imagine if you have 17 mothers that show up. Those are 17 mothers you would have not had. And it happens at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, and they leave an hour later. And the BOM's only 45 minutes is what you're giving, the similar way as a BMP that we talked about earlier. And they go back, and your goal is to get them to come to a BOM on a Tuesday night, right? The other kind of people that it's good for is night shift employees, nurses, students, teachers, factory workers, construction workers. It's also good for people who are between jobs, who are looking for a job, or they have a severance package, or they just got laid off. And it's also for people who have regular jobs. There are many people who are willing to take an hour off from work to come and find out what you're up to. Lots of people who are willing to do this. And again, by the way, just so you know this, top 5 offices will do everything we talked about. The number 1 office will take it to a whole different level. And top 10 offices are going to do some of the parts we talked about. And those that are not in the top 10 are probably not going to be doing BMPs, and they're not going to be doing daytime BOMs. And the difference becomes urgency, because at the end of the day, I was explaining this to a group of people that were at our place today. I said, you got to know the numbers work roughly about this way. Everybody gets involved in this business saying, oh, I'd love to have a business that overrides and gives me income whether I work or not. You got to look at it. For every person you can get to the big event, it's roughly, based on the studies I've done over the years, pays you $1,000 in override per year. So if you have 25 people at a big event, you're roughly overriding or making $25,000 per year at a big event. If you have 50, it's 50,000. 100, 100,000. 250, 250,000. 500, you're making 500,000. If you have 1,000, you're making $1 million per year. 2,500, $2.5 million per year. The numbers keep going up higher and higher and higher. You have 10,000, you can only imagine what kind of money that's paying you. And that's roughly how it works. 1,000 per person at a big event in override. See, my challenge to you when you're listening to this is the reason why it's so important to be serious and committed to building a top office is because, can you imagine, fast forward 5-10 years from now, you got 10 offices that are each doing $100,000 per month in production, and you override it 10% a month. It's $100,000 a month income. That's $1.2 million per year. Now you may say, Patrick, I don't see that taking place with my business ever. Well, let's just say you do 5 of them, and they don't do $100,000 a month in the entire office. They do $50,000 a month. That's $250 a month, and you override it 10%. What kind of money is that? $25,000 per month. That's $300,000 in override per year. How do you like that? That's why it's so important to pay attention to running a very strong office and paying attention to details, not getting casual, staying intense, staying hungry, staying focused and improving yourself as an office. This is something I took very, very seriously. I'll never forget the first time I tried to build a strong culture. I didn't do it very well. I was bad at it, but I eventually became very good. I wanted an environment that everybody walked out of that place knowing we're going straight to the top. It was a winning environment. You're listening to this right now, you may say, but Pat, I'm not that kind of an office right now. It doesn't matter. You can make it. If you're committed to it, you can make it. But Pat, what do I do in my office? I'm an MD with only 17 people. Get everybody in that office sold out to the vision of making that a top 5 office. And you stay on it as a leader, and eventually it could happen to you. So, MD, if you're listening to this, you got to re-listen to this and share this with other people in your office as well. And new person listening to it, take notes, re-listen to it again, bring up some of the ideas to your office, show up to a Monday morning full-timers meeting and say, I listened to the recording on these things. Why don't we start doing it in our office? And listen to the rest of the recordings we have on iTunes. You just need to go on iTunes and type in PHP Agency to look for other recordings from other leaders in the company that you can listen to add tools and start increasing the success in your business. I look forward to having other recordings being produced to speak with you and meet you very shortly at a big event coming up.